These videos have been possible with the help of those that support me on Patreon, so thank you guys for your constant support, and if you want to support me, you can click on the link on your screen right now, or click the link in the description below. Thanks a lot. Hello everybody, my name is Tyler Valle of Gamesnosh.com, and this is Samurai Warriors 4. And this is Samurai Warriors 4 2. You probably didn't notice much of a difference in the gameplay, did you? That's not really a surprise. You see, Samurai Warriors 4 2 follows in that long tradition of Koei Tecmo releasing updated versions of pretty much every one of their games. When it comes to their strategy games, they usually release the power-up kit, which would rarely ever make its way west. And with the Warriors games, you would get the Extreme Legends releases, which would be full of new content, new characters, and game changes. And Samurai Warriors 4 2 is no different, so let's get started. This is Samurai Warriors 4 2. And once again, our review code was graciously provided by 1PR, so from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much for continuing to give me the opportunity to review your games. Anyway, I'm going to be very upfront with you and tell you that I had a real hard time reviewing this game, mainly because it is nearly identical to Samurai Warriors 4, a game that I poured a lot of time into, and probably would say was my favorite game in the genre, which made reviewing this game even harder than I thought it would be. So the way I'm going to try to rectify this is I'm going to pretend in my mind that Samurai Warriors 4 never existed, unless I need to draw a direct comparison to both versions. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Koei Tecmo's titanic franchises of Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors, these are action games that tell a romanticized story of Japanese and Chinese history respectfully. In these franchises, you're tasked with choosing 1, 2, or 3 characters to hack, slash, and bash your way across a battlefield in an attempt to rack up a high kill count and defeat enemy officers. While Samurai Warriors hasn't been around quite as long as Dynasty Warriors, it has seen just as many improvements, and with the release of Samurai Warriors 4, the franchise was finally able to show itself off in full 1080p 60 FPS on the PlayStation 4. And with the release of Samurai Warriors 4 2, the PC version also released at 1080p 60 FPS with online multiplayer, which is a first, and even with the PlayStation 4 models. However, it still used the PlayStation 3 textures, but hey, it's definitely an improvement. Now, my review code was for the PlayStation 4 version of the game, so that's all I'll be able to speak to. And even though the gameplay is recording at 720p at 30 FPS, I can assure you that these games are running at 1080p at a mostly solid 60 FPS, unless there's just way too much commotion on screen. One of the great strengths of the Warriors games, or Musou games as they're called in Japan, is the robust cast of characters. Samurai Warriors 4 2 boasts a whopping 56 playable characters alongside the ability to create your own custom characters. Along with these 56 characters, there are also several archetypes that each character can fall into. Normal. These are characters that do their best by simply cutting through hordes of enemies with simple basic attacks. Then there's Hyper. These are characters that fly around the map at lightning speeds, cutting down crowds of enemies in a blink of an eye. These characters are great for cloud clearing, while lacking slightly in the officer killing department. And Special. These are characters that have special moves that can really change up their playstyles after pressing R1. This can range from a simple power-up to the ability to stun or slow enemies that are around you. The massive cast and multiple playstyles will ensure that you have the ability to find several characters that fit right into what you're most comfortable with. Whether it's characters that rely heavily on their combos, or characters that brainlessly bash their way across the map, Omega Force has made sure that there is a playstyle for everyone. With the addition of a new character, Naomas Ali, who you can see on the screen right now, 4.2 also comes with some more subtle gameplay changes. Hyper attacks, shown here, were pretty damn overpowered in the last game. So to rectify this, Omega Force has changed it so that the move will become more effective when your ally morale is higher. And I've also created parts of the battlefield that'll actually inhibit your ability to use these attacks. Omega Force has also stated that the AI has been upgraded and will now work to, quote, match the player's movements. But to be honest, over my time playing this game, I really didn't notice much of a change. The AI has never been particularly good in these games anyway though. But the changes that make the most difference to the game are what happened outside of the battlefield. In Samurai Warriors 4, the best way to upgrade your characters was to use the gem drops you got from battle to upgrade your weapons and the stats on them. This has been swapped out for a new skill point system where you use tomes, which are practically the same thing, they just look different, to buy stat increases and skills for your characters. Speaking of skills, the heirlooms and equipment drops that you used to get, and that if you were like me, you spent hours if not days grinding to collect in the first Samurai Warriors 4, have been thrown out and replaced with learning weapon skills and player skills through the skill point system and through another feature. That other feature is this one. In Samurai Warriors 4, there was no way to combine weapons that were similar the way you could in, say, Warriors Orochi 3. However, this system has made its return, and now is the only way for the player to upgrade their weaponry. With this returning system, you can improve the attack power and skills of your weapons by leveling them up to their max level, and the max level of these weapons can actually be increased by combining them with identical weapons. But each weapon still has a maximum rank and a maximum level. The maximum level is 50 and the maximum rank is 5 stars. This means there is a lot of upgrading to do to get your top weapon. These changes to the skill system are probably the best we could have gotten, because to be honest, the fact that the only way to get above max level in Samurai Warriors 4 was to have a certain skill attached to a weapon always felt silly to me. The last big game change is that Chronicle mode where you wandered around Japan fighting in small fights that usually took about, let's say, less than 5 minutes, has been removed from the game entirely and replaced with survival mode, where you select a character and attempt to battle your way up a mysterious castle. The higher you go, the larger the reward, but also larger the risk. The question is, are you able to make it all the way to the top floor? I haven't. And finally, the most welcoming change to Samurai Warriors 4 2 came with the story mode. One of the things that I love about the Warriors games is that even though there are a ton of characters, the game always gives you the time to learn about all of them. And through that, you may even grow attached to the universes that Omega Force creates, like I have. Unfortunately, with Samurai Warriors 4, they skimped out a lot on the character development, replacing the character-driven story of the previous Samurai Warriors games with a more Dynasty Warriors approach, and crafted the story arcs to be the tales of clans rather than the tales of warriors. While this did do a good job telling the overall story of Sengoku-era Japan, it felt that many of the characters in the game didn't get a chance to fully shine, though there's definitely some exceptions.
我が輩のものだ。
Thankfully, with Samurai Warriors 4 2, Omega Force has gone back to the more character-driven storylines of the previous games, where before you would learn about the story of the Takeda, you will now learn the story about Yukimura and Nobuyuki Sanada. This is the best change that could have been made between Samurai Warriors 4 and 4 2 so far, and for me, could almost be a complete justification of a purchase. But in closing, the main question you have to ask yourself is this game worth the price? And if you played the first Samurai Warriors 4, is it worth the price to basically play the same game with a few key changes? Well, as I've said before in previous reviews, I have a rule. If you can get an hour of playtime for every dollar you spend, then that game purchase was worth it. And if I'm going by that rule, I would say that yes, Samurai Warriors 4 2 is definitely worth the price if you're a returning Musou fan looking for something to hold you off while you wait for Dynasty Warriors 9. Come on, Omega Force, it's the 15th anniversary, get on it. Or if you're a new player who's been looking to get into the franchise, there's no better time to play Musou games than right now with 4 2. I would say that Samurai Warriors 4 2 is an improvement over the original in nearly every way, and is currently standing at the top of the totem pole as the best Musou game on the market. However, I cannot ignore the fact that there are people out there who cannot justify paying full price to pick up 4 2 when they already bought and played 4, and with that, I completely understand. In fact, the very fact that this is practically the same game is what's dragged down the score so much for me. If Samurai Warriors 4 never existed, and 4 2 was all we had, I would be completely comfortable giving this game a perfect 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, and giving it my gold star of approval and saying it was probably going to be my game of the year. But sadly, that is not the reality of the situation, and with that in mind, I feel the best score I can give this game is a 4 out of 5 or an 8 out of 10. And while that's still a great score, I only wish I could have given it a higher ranking if 4 never existed. This game is fantastic. It is great fun to just sit back, shut your brain off for a bit, and fight your way across Sengoku-era Japan in one of the most entertaining action games of the year. Samurai Warriors 4 2 is now available on the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Vita, and PC. Thank you guys for watching, and like always, make sure you guys like, favorite, comment, and subscribe, and make sure to check out Gamesnosh.com for all your UK-based gaming news. My name is Tyler Valle, and you guys have a great day.